So now we're going to take a closer look at the memory market, more specifically the high bandwidth memory, which is tend to be used for AI workloads and AI chips. So there was a recent report from TrendForce that kind of mentions the top players in this industry and kind of shares their market share. So TrendForce reports that the top three HBM high bandwidth memory suppliers in 2022 were SK Hynix with roughly 50% of the market share, Samsung with roughly 40%, and Micron Technology with roughly 10%. They also gave kind of estimations of where they believe will go in 2023. They expect SK Hynix to grow to 53, Samsung to drop down to 38, and Micron to drop down to 9%. I was talking to Billy before we started this episode, and one thing he just wanted me to remind investors that at the moment, HBM is still a small portion of kind of these memories' total revenue to some extent. So just because we see some players like Micron at 10% doesn't mean that, hey, their revenue depends solely on this market. Most of the revenue is probably still in kind of consumer-based products. But one thing that's really driving growth here is AI servers and the kind of hardware that goes into these AI servers. For example, NVIDIA's H100, their latest generation of data center GPUs, tends to use HBM. I believe when they first started, when it was first released, it was HBM2E, which is just a variation of that. And I believe as the months continue to progress, they've kind of been shifting over to the HBM3 instead. The upcoming product of AMD, the MI300, their APU, the mixture of the CPU and GPU. And I'm going to guess NVIDIA's kind of Grace CPU as well, and Grace Hopper Superchip will probably also be using these types of memories. So they do mention, and I thought this was pretty interesting, SK Hynix is the only supplier at the moment that really mass produces the HBM3 products. Again, maybe the main reason of why they have such a huge market share right now, and why maybe some of the big players ran to them at the earlier on. But they do mention that Samsung and Micron are expected to start mass production sometimes toward the end of 2023 or early 2024. And then when that happens, who knows, we're probably going to go in an all-out pricing war for HBM when that starts to come out. Luckily, we've had some questions, guys, in the past about kind of AI servers a little bit. Luckily, TrendForce did provide a little bit more information on AI servers. I believe three or four episodes ago, we talked about the AI servers a little bit. So they kind of, it seems they just reused some of the information from from their previous articles. But just to remind investors, AI servers are used by huge cloud server providers equipped with an average of 4 to 8 high-end graphics cards and roughly 2 mainstream server CPUs. Right now, mainly x86, but eventually I believe we're going to start seeing some ARM-based CPUs as well. They also say that AI servers need way more memory. They gave a great example that general servers have roughly 500 to 600 gigabytes of server DRAM. AI servers tend to have at least double that. They also estimate that AI servers are expected to grow in forms of shipment volumes. They expected it to grow 9% in 2022. In 2023, they estimate roughly 15%. In 2024, roughly 10%. I think right now we are in this crazy AI work craze. So we have to see how this technology moves on. Obviously, maybe things can be optimized a little bit better. That who knows, maybe AI servers might slow down based on estimations, but who knows, maybe workloads can increase dramatically and we might see bigger numbers than these. So these are the estimates. They show at least double digits for the next 3 to 4 years. The other final thing I do want to mention is even though we are hearing a lot about AI servers, cloud server providers, I do believe still a majority of their workload is still more general processing opposed to AI workloads. So I believe AI servers compared to regular cloud server provider servers is still a very small portion. So that's why we're seeing strong potential growth in the upcoming years here for AI servers. So that's all I have here for the HBM market. We definitely see some top players. I'll pass it over to you, Billy. Any thoughts here on what I shared? Discover the world of semiconductors without getting lost in the technical jargon. My new membership offers a perfect balance for investors looking to understand this exciting market. Using my electrical engineering knowledge and experience, I will release weekly exclusive videos ranging from quick 5-minute 101s to in-depth analysis, covering not just popular chip stocks, but aiming to explore every public semiconductor. Plus, join a private community of like-minded investors. Finally, I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
Yeah, this is still a pretty nascent market. I think HBM is still a pretty small portion of even the server market, due to cost and whatnot. But it is going to grow in the years ahead. And you're right, SK Hynix is the leader in HBM, but the other two look to be right behind it this year, especially with kind of the AI revolution accelerating since last November with ChatGPT. This is interesting. They expect AI server growth rate to really accelerate this year, no surprise, and then sort of decelerate before re-accelerating by 2027. So maybe AI is going to take a couple of years to get sort of mainstreamed and get sort of pervasive. But yeah, this is a small portion of the server market that's probably going to grow a lot from a small base. So this is going to be very interesting to watch. I think all the management teams are probably going to get questions about it every single earnings call. And yeah, I mean, I think TSMC, ASML were both asked about generative AI and the effect on their business. And they basically said, we don't really know, but it's going to be a positive for our business. So we're not sure, to the extent to how quick everything gets adopted, but this application is compute intensive, it's memory intensive. And yeah, it's very interesting because I think a couple weeks ago I reported on 3D DRAM architecture, and how Micron led that in patents, which these companies aren't making 3D DRAM yet because technology's not there or necessary yet. But yeah, SK Hynix has been investing in HBM for a long time. All three players have it. I assume all three players are going to be pivoting their production towards this type of memory, especially as the need for sort of traditional DDR4 is still terrible and oversupplied. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the memory players all shift to these kind of new rising products as the traditional products kind of taper off, shall we say, to put it lightly.
Yeah, thank you for that, Billy. And just like you mentioned, right, these are not used in a lot of products for NVIDIA. We can see them used in the H100 and their high margin GPUs, but they're not going to use this type of memory because of pricing on their consumer products to kind of help control the cost of their things, so of their cards. So thank you for sharing that. Nick, any thoughts here on your end?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how this pivot plays out. I think maybe just speaking a little bit more broadly on the memory market, this is one of the reasons why I kind of held on to my Micron stock, even as the current down cycle was cropping up and it looked like we were headed down from the roughly $100 a share peak. This thing really, it started brewing last year. It just kind of hit the mainstream consciousness this year when ChatGPT went viral. But Jensen Huang was talking about this all last year on the earnings calls about this coming wave of, he called them AI factories a couple of times, basically data centers solely dedicated towards training and then running AI services, AI models. And this is what it looks like in financial terms. It's going to be interesting to see how this memory glut turns into a memory shortage. I think probably not this year, but I think it'll start taking shape by the end of this year. And I don't know, 2024 could be pretty epic for Micron stock.
Definitely, Nick. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Billy, as well. I think that's a great way to just kind of end this topic on the memory market.